AP Music Theory and Dr. E here. We are about to talk about part writing. In fact, our lessons for the rest of the time are going to be talking about the things that are going to be on our AP test. So stay tuned in. I've got a lot to show you today. We're going to do a part writing from figure bass, and we're also going to do one from Roman numerals. And we're going to see if we can get it done in the amount of time that we're supposed to, which is 25 minutes. You know, the suggested time for the figure bass one is 15 minutes, and the suggested time for the Roman numeral one is 10 minutes. We'll see how we do on that. Okay, so here's what I gave you to do since this past Monday. One figure bass and one Roman numeral, and I gave you the soprano and bass lines, and you were supposed to practice putting in the alto and tenor lines, and of course finding the chords and spelling the chords correctly. So I'm going to go through this fairly fast and just show you, here's what I did. And you can see that in this particular one, the B flat major, that it's all conjunct in the tenor. The altos have 1/3 skip there at the beginning. I did triple the root at the end because that A in the tenor wants to go back to B flat. And so I just went there, and linearly it worked out really, really well. That perfect fifth between the alto and tenor to the diminished fifth in the second measure there works out well. And then of course the E flat in the alto is the chordal seventh, so it resolves down to D. Okay, the second one. I forgot that I was going to play that one for you. I'll play it one more time. Here it comes. Okay, pretty nice. The other one was, oh, you know what I did? I wrote a weird one, and this one's full of problems, mostly caused by skips, because you can see two spacing issues there. SP stands for spacing, has to be an octave or less in between alto and tenor in those two instances. The perfect fifth to diminished fifth between alto and tenor was still good, but notice that the chordal seventh is not resolved. The E flat went up to F instead of going down to D where it is supposed to. So I thought, listen to this. It sounds, you may think it sounds okay, but it sounds weird according to common practice principles. Yeah, okay. Well, you can look at it and see, but my suggestion is don't write alto and tenor lines like that skip around all over the place. Okay, here is the D major one. And this one had a problem. It had at the beginning, the second beat of the measure, an unresolved leading tone. Well, I think this is by J.S. Bach, maybe the soprano and bass lines. I can't remember for sure, but it's by someone from the common practice. And what they did was they prolonged that resolution, and it doesn't happen until the second measure. And you can see in the soprano, it goes C sharp to D there finally. But as long as I wrote sixths and thirds in there, as long as you're moving in sixths and thirds, it really works well. You know, that soprano melody that I gave you had a fourth there from B up to E, third to the fourth beat in the first measure. Here's what this one sounds like. So you see the alto had to go that fourth also to make that work out. And then it went back to conjunct motion. So it had that one accommodation. The tenor looked pretty good. Once again, it's conjunct, okay? And by the way, that C sharp, I rewrote this soprano melody because the AP way is you would have to resolve that to leading tone. The leading tone would have to resolve to tonic. I mean, so that second to the third beat, I changed the melody, and it changed the part writing somewhat, but it's all sixths and thirds and some parallel fourths along the way, and it works really nicely. All right, so there you go. And let's move on. So once again, stay tuned in because this is all stuff for the AP exam this year. So you need these lessons like this, and I think I can really help you, and I know Mrs. Foote can as well. So really tune into these lessons about the AP exam. So I'm going to start with what I have as 20 quick ideas for free response questions. Now, most of these will definitely apply to what we're doing on the test. Every once in a while, maybe there's one that would be more applicable to the oral part of the AP test that we would normally have. But this year, a lot of these 20 things, in fact, most of them apply to the part writing on the AP test. So number one, spell chords correctly. Yes, if you don't spell the chord correctly, that's a big problem, as we've said before. No voice leading in, no voice leading out. So you lose 5 points just bingo like that, and that's a big hit. Number two, use common tones whenever possible. In other words, if a note is common to both chords and you can use it, then do it, because that will make a more linear flow to the voices. Number three, work to create a lot of conjunct stepwise motion in the soprano, alto, and tenor voices. The bass is going to be more disjunct oftentimes, although sometimes it can be very conjunct too, but it's both conjunct and disjunct. Number four, remember that accidentals are notated on the left side of the note head. Oh my goodness. You know, that can be a real problem because we say C sharp or B flat. And so it's kind of like the curve sign out on the highway though. I really hope that the curve sign comes before the curve, because if it doesn't, boom, off the cliff, you know. So accidentals are the same. If you put them on the wrong side of the note head, after the note head, then it's applying to the notes coming up, not the one that you want it to apply to. And number five, be sure you know the meaning of the inversion symbols in Roman numeral exercises. If you get those mixed up, you know, I'll show you in a few minutes if I remember, but I use the inversion hotline, 664-765-4342. Okay, I'll write it down for you in a moment when we go over to the document camera. But you have to remember what those mean. And we have first inversion, second inversion, and third inversion in seventh chords. Okay. Now this one, this is interesting. We can check to see, it's not always going to be so, but oftentimes if you see a 1, 6, 4, 5 or 5, 7 to a 1, for instance, in the Roman numeral exercise, I'll bet you a lot of the time you can write a 3-2-1 ending or a 1-7-1 in the melody at the cadence. So that could be really, really important. It might be sol, fa, mi too. It could be that and be an imperfect authentic cadence. But oftentimes if you see that so, do in the bass, which is a cadential 6, 4, 5 to 1, that melody will work really, really well. Number 7, we have to double the fifth of the chord in 6/4 chords. That's the bass note. Number 8, we have to raise the 7th scale degree to leading tone in minor at cadences in the 5 chord. So the 5 chord, both in major and minor keys, is typically a major chord. That's not to say that in real music, the 5 minor doesn't appear. It does. But we're going to raise that 7th scale degree in the 5 chord to the leading tone, and that makes it a major chord. Number 9, 7th of a 7th chord. We call that the chordal 7th. Don't get it confused with the leading tone of the key. We're talking about the 7th, root 3rd, 5th, 7th of a 7th chord, and that must resolve down by step in the next chord, or hold until it can resolve down by step. Number 10, all inverted triads and 7th chords must be complete. In other words, you can't leave out the 5th. You have to use all notes of the chord, root 3rd and 5th for triads, root 3rd, 5th, and 7th for 7th chords. That's on inverted triads. So you have to really pay attention to that in the part writing. Number 11, avoid doubling a leading tone or a chordal seventh. That will simply get you in trouble. You'll lose, you'll be penalized for that. Number 12, spacing, like in that one I showed you just a moment ago in the homework. Spacing must be an octave or less between adjacent upper parts. Between soprano and alto, octave or less. Between alto and tenor, octave or less. Number 13, the leading tone in the soprano or bass voice must resolve up to tonic in AP. Now, you noticed in the one I showed you just a while ago, it didn't resolve until later. And so in our world, the AP world, it has to resolve to tonic, the next note. If it's in the inside voice, it doesn't absolutely have to do that, although it wants to. So resolving the leading tone to tonic is a good thing. Number 14, perfect fifth to perfect fifth, perfect octave to perfect octave are not allowed. Number 15, unequal fifths, like perfect fifth to diminished fifth. That one happens all the time. It's good. The diminished fifth to the perfect fifth is probably not as good, and it only occurs in certain ways. And so it's not that it's not good, it's just that it doesn't happen that often. Thirds and sixths in parallel motion are great. So we'll look to use those. Number 16, avoid overlapping between adjacent chords, okay? 17, avoid cross voicing within a chord. We'll probably review those again before the AP test, but overlapping is between two chords, adjacent chords, and cross voicing is within a chord vertically. Number 18, augmented seconds, tritone, or more than a fifth in any voice except the bass are uncharacteristic skips. Okay, number 19, suspensions. We have three that we're responsible for, the 9/8, the 7/6, and the 4/3. Mrs. Foot's going to talk more about those. They have to have three parts: the preparation, the suspended note, and the resolution. And all three of those notes have to be in the same voice. We'll have an example of that today. And finally, number 20, the third scale degree in the bass voice is a first inversion chord. That's often for the oral side too, but I put it here because if you have a 1/6, that's the third scale degree in the bass. All right, and here we go. Here's the first one. I'm gonna head over to the document camera here, but you can start copying that down while I'm getting over to the document camera and see if I can get there. And I think that I'm here, right? And I'm gonna make that get bigger, like so. And here we go. So this one is in A minor. It's actually one that I give my classes, okay? And it's an AP progression here. Okay, now I'm gonna try this, and I'm gonna write a chord matrix first. So here we go. This is like our 25 minutes. Hey Siri, set a timer for 1 minute. And so I'm gonna put the chord matrix right up here. So we're in the key of A. You have to know A, C, E. Okay, that's the tonic in the key of A minor. And then we're going to go A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and E, F, G, A, B, C, D. And that's a 1, 2 diminished, 3, 4 minor, 5 major, 6 major, and 7 diminished, because we're going to raise that to G sharp. We're going to raise that one to G sharp. You can see that that's a G sharp and a G sharp. Okay, so, and then on the 5 chord, I'm going to put a D up there because we may have a 7th. On the 2 chord, I'm going to do the same thing, an A. And I'm not going to worry about that 3 chord. Okay, so I got that done in 1 minute because my timer just went off. All right, so once you've written that, then we figure out the chords. Okay, And you can go and do root position. Okay, so that's a root position chord, starts on A. It is an A, C, E chord. That one is root position, starts on D. That would be D, F, A. Do you see how that chord matrix can help you? Some of you may not need it, but if you have any problem, this will save you time, I think. Okay, the rest, this one is a root position. So that would be E. That's a 5 chord. So that would be an E, G sharp. I didn't leave myself much room right there at B. Okay, E, G sharp, and B. Move that up just a little bit so you can see it. Okay, and then this is, you can think about this as an inversion. So that's a first inversion. So you skip down a third because the third is the bass note. So that would be an A, C, E chord again, like that one right there. And then this one would be a 4-2. So that's like a third inversion. That's the 7th of the chord. So 7, 5, 3, 1. That would be an E. So we look over here, E, G sharp, B, D would be the 7th. E, G sharp, B, and D. Okay. And then this is first inversion again. That's an ACE chord. That's a first inversion. So F is the third. So skip down. That's a D, F, A chord. D, F, and A. Okay. I usually write that chord matrix down on the bottom, but you can see it. Okay. And then we're going to circle the bass notes. This is A. This is C. This is D. This is D again. This is C. This is F. And then E. Okay. And then, so this is a 1 chord. This is a 1 in first inversion. D, that's a 4 minor. This is a 5, 5, 4, 2. So that would be a D, D, F, A, and C actually, okay? No, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one. That would be E, G sharp, B, D, like there, the 5 chord, okay? And then you put 5, 4, 2. And then this is an A chord again, A, C, E. That's a 1/6 this time, another 1/6. You see that that's the third of the key, the scale degree, third scale degree. Okay, and this is a D, F, A. That would be the 4 minor again. And then this is E, G sharp, B. That would be the 5 chord. Okay. All right. So now we've got everything ready to go. So we want to write a good melody. And sometimes, like with that starting up so high, I kind of want to start down somewhere. But you know, I've used these bass notes so I can check them off like this. And by the way, that D has to go to that C right there. Okay, and it did, D to C, right? And this is C and E and I mean F and E. Okay, so I've used A, and I was given an E up here in the melody. Well, I can still do that. I can stay right there like that, use the common tone, and then now I'd like to go in contrary motion to that. So I'm going to go to D. And next, this would be E. Okay. Next would be, I think I'm going to keep going down. I'm going to use B. Okay, and that's oblique with the bass. My stems are kind of wobbly there, and because I'm in a hurry. Okay, and then the next one, I'm going to go. I can go in similar motion. If I went to E, that would be too big. I could go up to C there, but I think rather than that, I'm gonna go down to A, and it's similar motion, but it's D, F, A, B, and C, E, G, A. So that's a sixth. So sixth and parallel motion are great. And then I'm going to, on this 4 minor chord, I'm going to use A again, keep the common tone here. So I can keep A. And then on the last one, I'm going to go right down to G sharp like that. Okay. Okay, so there's our melody. Actually, if you were on one of my earlier lessons, when we were just practicing, I got to fix that stem. It looks so bad. You might remember that we already wrote this melody to go with this particular bass line. This was one of our homework times. So I'm using that same melody, and it really works very well. So now we've got to put in the alto and tenor. So I've used C and E. I need an A. I can keep that common in the alto. And then I need to double something. And, you know, in this particular chord, I think that rather than go this direction, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to use the E. I would have to go a third either direction. So I'm going to go to E right there, like that. Okay. And then next, I've used both of my Ds. So I've got to have an F and an A. If I wanted to, I could leave out A, but I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to go this E. I'm going to step it up in the tenor to F, like so. And then I'm going to just come stay on A again. Okay. That takes care of my F and A. And then on the next one, I have used B and D. So I have to use all of the 4 notes because it's an inverted chord. So I'm going to go G sharp in the alto, just steps down, very conjunct. Don't forget to put the accidental on. And then I'm going to go to E, back down to E in the tenor like this. So that's staying conjunct also. And then across the bar line, we need an E. So I actually, if I kept E there, it's going to cause me a problem. So I'm going to put E right there. If you put it down here, you would find out. And then I'm going to use C. I'm going to double C in this 1/6. So I'm going to have a little skip of a third there in the tenor. And that works out well. And then I've used F and A, so I need a D. I'm gonna put this D in both parts. I'm gonna put D there, and I'm gonna go to the tenor up to D also. There's my D, F, A chord. And then I didn't have to worry about that chordal 7th, by the way, you know, so I'm good. And then I've used E and G sharp in this case. So I'd like to double the E if I can. And look at this, I can just step the alto up to there, okay? And then I need a B. Well, all I have to do is go down a third. Now the tenor, you know, they went up a third there, and then down a third and another third. You know, thirds are okay, especially when the alto is doing pretty conjunct and it was just a third right there. All right, so here's what this one sounds like. I tell you what, let's keep going and let's write the other one right now, okay? And you can sort of start copying that a little bit, all right? So I'll leave it right there. Take your manuscript paper and copy. And I think, whoops, put my arm in the way there. Okay, so it's 9:25. We're doing okay on our time. And of course, I did some talking. So probably you can get that done in 15 minutes. And we're going to have timing time, you know, where we do time exercises pretty soon. and that I think will really help you. But we're going, okay, so the Roman numeral is suggested 10 minutes. So we ought to be able to do this pretty easily. Now, I'm not gonna, I don't have room up there to write the chord matrix, but if you're gonna write one, if you think you need it, and of course, I just think it's a good thing to do. Now we're in the key of A flat. So I'm gonna write it down here. This would be A flat, C, E flat, like so. And then we can do this in 1 minute. I set my timer a while ago. I won't right now, but we go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. And this is a 1 chord, a 2 chord, a 3 chord, a 4 major, 5 major, and 6 minor, and 7 diminished. Okay, and then we have to put the key signature in. It's 4 flats, and you know you can look at it up there. I can't make that flat right now. Okay, so it would be B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, and B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. Okay, E, A, and D. And then on the 5 chord, D flat up there, and on the 2 chord, that would be an A flat. Okay, like so. And so now, with that said, you know, this is going to be our Roman numeral exercise. So this chord matrix can really help you with this one. All right, so here we go. A 1 chord. That, of course, is A flat, C, E flat. So A flat, C, E flat. And now the 5/7, that would be an E flat, G, B flat, and D flat. The 6 chord, F, A flat, C. The 2/6, B flat, D flat, F. The 1/6/4, the cadential 6/4 here, that would be the notes of the 1 chord, A flat, C, E flat. But of course, the 5th is the lowest note there. I'll just circle it right now. And then the 5/7 again, E flat, G, B flat, and D flat. And then the 1. Okay, and this one right here, do you see that little tiny 4-3? It's kind of small. Okay, this is a suspension. It's a 4/3 suspension. So the 1 chord is going to be A flat, C, E flat, except in the first beat, we have a non-chord tone, 4 above the A flat, A, B, C, D flat, okay? So that's D flat, and then it resolves down to the 3rd above, which would be C, like that. And notice, all of these have to be in the same voice, those 3 notes. So that's the suspension, okay? This D flat over here has to go to C, okay? And now we're gonna circle the bass notes. So this would be root position, we see already. This is the root position. So E flat is the bass note, root position. And then this one is a 6, so that would be D flat, first inversion. I've already circled that one. And then the 5/7, that would be root position. And finally, the 1 chord with the suspension is also root position. And then what we're going to do is just simply write those bass notes in. So A flat is already there. E flat, I'm going to take it down to here. E flat, and then step up to F, and then down to D flat. I see it'd be kind of crazy to go all the way up to D flat, so just make things close as you can. E flat. So we step up to E flat, and I know what's coming. This is going to be so, so, do, E flat again, and then down to A flat. And that's going to be a half note like so. All right. So now we want to write a melody. So we've used these notes. I'll check them off just so we keep track of ourselves here. Okay. And so we need a G, a B flat, or a D flat. I'm going to go down because I'm kind of looking over at the end. And do you know what in my list, what it said? Where I said, if you've got so, so, do, you might be able to see a 3-2-1 or a 1-7-1. And I'm shooting for maybe a 1-7-1 or a 3-2-1 over here. And we'll see what it is. Okay. All right. And I could even try and just write that in, you know, like that would be A, G, A flat, G, A flat, that sort of thing, or C, B flat, A flat, one of those. Okay. So that did go in similar motion. And this one, it's going to, so we've used the B flat. This one we've used F, so we need another F or an A flat or a C. Well, I think that now I'm going to go in contrary motion and I'm going to go down to the A flat, A flat. And then next we've used D flat and we need a B flat or an F. Okay, well, I think an F would be a third down, but can we do that? It would be in thirds, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in contrary motion again, and I'm going to go back up to B flat right here. Okay, so we use B flat, and then, oh, I can go either way, but I think I'm going to go in contrary motion, and by either way, I mean, I could do C, B flat, A flat, or I could do A flat, G, A flat. And where that B flat is, I think I'm going to go in contrary motion with the bass and go 1-7-1. So A flat, G, A flat, like that. Okay. So that means that the 4-3 suspension, these notes, D flat to C, will go in either the alto or the tenor. Okay, so now we have to go back and put the rest of the notes in the alto and tenor like we were practicing for today. So we need a G and a D flat. Okay, well, we're not going to have a big skip of a fifth. We're going to go to G here in the alto. And then we're going to go to step down to D in the tenor. You have to write neat enough where someone can read it, you know. All right. And then we've used F and A flat. We need a C. Well, it looks like that's going to have to be in the tenor because otherwise we'd have a big skip. So let's put C in the tenor. Now we've got all three of the notes, but we need to double something. And of course, if we can default double, we're going to do it. So we're going to use F. The alto just steps down to F right there. Okay. And then on the next one, we've used B flat and D flat. So, I'm going to keep F common. Okay, like so. And then we need to double something. And, you know, I think probably in this particular case, I'm not going to go down to B flat. Rather, I'm going to go up to D flat. Okay, so I'm going to go C and double. And in a 2/6 chord, you want to double that third oftentimes. And it works very well right here. Okay, and then on the next one, we've used A flat and E flat. So I think we're probably going to step down to E flat in the alto. And then I think we'll go, let's see, we've used E flat. Oh, we'll just step down to C because we need the C. That's the one we were missing. Okay, tenor step down to C. So we kept that stepwise on both parts. And now we've used E flat and G. So we need a B flat and a D flat. And this can go just stepping on down, D flat and B flat. So now you know where the suspension is going to be. So that D flat is going to suspend into that one chord, and it becomes a non-chord tone right there. And then it is going to resolve down to C. And so you do that in the same voice. Don't forget that. You go in the same voice and it resolves, okay? So many times I've seen where people would wouldn't resolve it correctly. You know, you get right to here. And I showed you one like that, you know, the one that was kind of crazy that I wrote with all the skips and everything in the homework this morning. All right. So what note are we going to use also in that last chord? Well, you know, if we could use the we've got all three notes. Really, we only have two notes, A flat and C. And so if we could get an E flat, but look at what that would do. If we put E flat down here, that would cause parallel fifths. If we put it up there, it would be cross voicing. We don't have a choice here the way it's turned out other than to write another A flat. So we're going to triple the root on that, like so. And there is our part writing. So at the beginning, this was contrary motion between soprano and bass. This was contrary motion between soprano and bass. This was contrary motion between soprano and bass. This was oblique motion. And this was contrary. So this worked out really nicely. One similar motion and then all of the rest contrary and oblique. This is a nice part writing exercise, and I think it would probably get a perfect score, okay? So with that said, I'm gonna go back to the PowerPoint. Hopefully you could read that okay on there, okay? And so let me go back to the PowerPoint, and I've given you some sound recordings of these that we have just written, okay? There was the A minor one, here was the A flat. And by the way, there's more than one way to do this. Here was, let's go back to the A minor one first. And that one looked like this. And I've added some things in there a little bit. For instance, the second chord, I doubled the fifth, okay? And in the downbeat of the second measure, I doubled the third in this one. And of course, the D, the chordal seventh, was resolved in the bass. So that was given to us. And between the soprano and bass parts, it was 4 oblique and contrary, 1 contrary, 3 oblique, and then 2 similar. So what we've said in the past is if you can be 50% or so with contrary and motion, and oblique motion works too, then you're going to really be able to put that alto and tenor part in pretty easily, I think, most of the time. Sometimes you'll have to make accommodations, we know that, but in this particular case, this one worked out really quite nicely. Here's what it sounds like. If I can get it to go. Okay, let me see if I can make that work. I'll just come over here and play it. All right. I'm having some problems here with playing my sound cuts, okay? I'm gonna back up and see if I can do it again. Oh my, well, I guess they're not gonna play. Okay, well, with that said, I don't know what my problem is with that. See if I can make it work. I'm not sure that it's going to work, but maybe when you, I don't know why that's not playing. Okay, let's just talk about it then, because this is the way and you may have time to play it. And by the way, these are systems that I'm showing you, the Chord Matrix, for example. Some of you may not need to do that. You might just save time and go right to the Roman numerals. You'll be able to write the chords down really, really fast. But I'm just showing a way that you can get this done in the amount of time. Actually, I got done faster than I thought I was going to, because I've got here. Let me back up now to the first one. And here is what we had. Okay, that's the exact one that we wrote. But then if you go to this one, now that melody is different, and it's mostly oblique and contrary, you know, 3 obliques and 2 contraries, but only 1 similar motion now. Lots of thirds and sixths. And the other thing that I want to tell you that you must do is you need to look. So for example, if we look at this version, if you look between the bass and the soprano, okay, that's all taken care of. We know that it's oblique, similar, oblique, oblique, contrary, and contrary. But then you have to look other places. For example, I noticed that in the first, the second chord to the third chord, the similar motion move. Okay, well, that one is oblique with the soprano and tenor. And the soprano and bass we already know is okay, because that's thirds, C up to E, D up to F, simple intervals. Remember, we use simple intervals when we're doing, not compound intervals. Okay, and then when you look at the third to the fourth beat, you're going to look and see, okay, well, there's similar motion between the alto and the soprano. And that's A up to F, that's a 6, G sharp up to E, that's a 6. So 6 in parallel motion are good. The tenor is also similar motion with them, but it's at the interval of a third to the next note. So it's not a problem, you know, like these go by step. This one jumps down a third, okay? And then we've got over here, this one's okay, because you have to look between the bass and the tenor. That one is 1, 3, 5, 6 again, 1, 3, 5, 6, 6 in parallel motion, that's good. And then on this one, it's all oblique, and then contrary between bass and soprano. And on this one, it's thirds and sixths again. So all of that was really, really good. That worked out nicely. And then if we go on and look at the version 1 of this is the one we just wrote, okay? So I think this one, yes. And notice that it has a lot of parallel motion in this, but it's 6 and 4ths in parallel, it's 6 and thirds in parallel. But you must, as you go through, figure out what the intervals between the different voices are from one chord to the next. So like we look at the third measure, there are 3 voices that are in similar motion, and it looks like they're all moving stepwise. So we need to look at that. Well, starting from the tenor, C up to E flat in the between the alto and tenor, and B flat up to D flat, that's thirds in parallel motion. That's good. And then if we look between the alto and soprano, that's 4ths in parallel motion. That's okay. And then if we look between the tenor and the soprano, C, E, G, A, that's 6ths again in parallel motion. So you have to look at the different ones, you know, like that. Here's the second version of that one. Okay. And really, the only thing that I did differently is I made the similar motion actually in the same place, but I just made the first part contrary and contrary, where I had gone similar motion at the beginning. And that one works. Lots of 6ths and thirds in parallel motion. Of course, actually the 7th, chordal 7th in the 5/7 chord is what I'm trying to say. that chordal seventh becomes a part of, oops, there's my timer for 45 minutes. The chordal seventh plays into that suspension. And so the chordal seventh has to hold on that D flat. And of course, that becomes the suspension of the suspended note of the 4-3 suspension, and then it resolves down to C. So once again, the chordal seventh can't resolve in the next chord. It has to wait until the 4-3 suspension plays out and resolves itself. So both things are happening. The chordal seventh is resolving, and the 4-3 suspension is resolving. That's pretty cool. Well, I hope that I've helped you, especially with seeing about how to take things that are close in part writing. Look at that 20 point list, and you can have that right there by you on the AP exam, just like you can have a keyboard to play out your sight singing if you want to. So you can have all of these helps this year, and that's pretty cool. But I would actually learn that list before the test on May 19th. I would be sure that I'm understanding what I need to do, because you're not going to have time to go over and check all of the time. So I would go back and review that all of the time between now and then. Well, I've enjoyed being with you again today. I hope I've helped you with part writing. On Friday, I'm going to be talking about part writing again. So please tune in. We're going to be really practicing part writing a lot now. All right. Well, have a great day. And here's a part writing exercise for you to practice with. And we'll go over this at the beginning of our part writing lesson on Friday. Have a great day, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.